Welcome back to Let's Be Blunt, the podcast. With me, your host, Cheyenne, where we smoke blunts and talk about blunt shit. As always, my Linktree holds all my social medias, everywhere you can stream, anywhere you can follow, anywhere you can find all the dumbass shit I'll be posting. Press that Linktree, because that's everywhere I can find y'all. If you guys want to be on Let's Be Blunt, don't hesitate to DM me, and we'll get you guys on it. As always, this is an 18 up podcast. We do smoke blunts, we do cuss, we do talk about grown shit. So please be warned of that. That being said, though, we have a very special guest on the podcast. What up to you, the Infinite Johnathon? Please tell everybody your name, where you at, what's up with it, what's up with you.
Well, as you can tell by my name is Jonathan. I'll be 28 next month. Next week. I'll be 28 in a few days. I'm actually out here currently in Lincoln, Nebraska, and I am a founder and CEO of my own company. It's an investing company called Infinite Johnathon LLC.
That's what's up. I appreciate you being on. We've been trying to coordinate a goddamn because we both be busy as hell. We're trying to coordinate. I'm so glad we finally got us together again, because anybody that's been watching this podcast for a minute knows you've been on this.
Yeah.
Is this the first like audio we got? Because I know like the first time we had like phones connected and shit. We were trying to...
Yeah. Last time we were like fucking what? It wasn't even planned. We were just having a normal conversation, and the next thing you know, we're like, "Yo, I think we should do a fucking podcast." And I was like, "Yo, I'm way ahead of you. I'm already fucking recording right now."
Oh god. Because when we posted it, people were like, "Yo, this audio quality is trash," but what y'all were talking about was fantastic. I was like, ever since that day, yo, I was like, I need to get Jonathan back on this fucking podcast.
Hell yeah, I've been wanting to do another one too, so perfect timing.
I feel like I've been told this, like, my podcast is one of those things that, like, they're like potato chips. You can't just be on one episode, because once I get people start to talk, it's hard to be like, okay, well, now here's the cutoff. Like,
yeah.
I'm hoping the way me and you both ramble, we can get this shit accomplished. But I know for sure I'm already having people message me and be like, yo, we definitely need a part 2 with him already, because based on the first thing we did, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So people watching, go back and re-listen to the OG episode of Jonathan. It's also on your podcast as well, isn't it?
That's a good question. I haven't even been on my podcast in a while. I'm kind of bummed I haven't been making any content recently, but I got to double check. I think the last time I was on my podcast, I was like going over like my episodes and trying to like reconfigure everything, try to do some edits too, because I was going to start working on a season 2. But I guess I started getting writer's block, so I kind of just said fuck and just.
I felt that shit, yo. Oh my god! Like people don't understand. Like writing consistent scripts that are not only interesting but still hit all the points is fucking hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like
it really is. Hard. Yeah. And like me personally, I always did mine like off the top of my head. Like I would have like the main points I want to do, but I never went off of paper. Like I do everything like in my head, so it's like even harder how to like continue continue the conversation, stay on topic without getting too far off and everything like that, and also doing it within that time frame too. So
oh god, yo, like me finally getting more fluent guests on here, like I'm starting to learn how to actually keep people on track, because before I'll just be smoking around, speak your truth, honey. Now I'm like, bitch, we got time frames. Like,
right.
you gotta speak and speak with authority, because I don't got time to listen to you all day.
Yeah, exactly.
That being said, though, I'm definitely gonna make sure for all the listeners of Let's Be Blunt, we're gonna tag your social medias that you do have and your fucking podcast, so people can start listening, because you do speak that. Tell everybody a little bit what your podcast is on, so we can get that out the way.
Yeah, so my podcast is on Spotify.
Like, what is it about, Jonathan?
Okay. Yeah, I really just talk about things that a lot of people question, conspiracy theories, things about certain industries, or like this the secrets about certain topics or industries that a lot of people question and sometimes don't really believe that are actually true. And so, I just kind of talk about that real shit that, some people are afraid to talk about, and things like that.
We talk about a lot of drugs, talk about a lot of the gang realities in life. So it's a good podcast to listen to. Give everybody the name of that. I'll also tag it though.
The name of my podcast is the Infinite Parabox.
That's what's up. We're gonna be working on getting you streaming everywhere because it's stuff that I feel like should be worldwide and be heard. Um, that being said, let's get into a little more of younger Jonathan. Explain to everybody where you grew up, family dynamic, stuff like that.
Yeah, so I was born in North Carolina. I was initially born in Raleigh, North Carolina. Then I was raised from when I was 10 years old up until I graduated from high school in Durham, North Carolina. Bull City, represent. Um, but yeah, I grew up pretty much with my immediate family. Both mom and my dad, which they're still married to this day. I believe maybe 32 years of marriage on and counting or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up with my full biological siblings for my mom and my dad. I had two brothers, an older brother and a younger brother, and then a younger sister I grew up with. Then I also had an older brother and another older sister that has a different mom that's actually here in Lincoln, where I'm currently at right now, Lincoln, Nebraska. Uh, yeah, we grew up on our own. We had no surrounding family. We had no one to go to, so we always had each other.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we kind of had a few houses up until, I was 10 years old. And from there, we stayed there until I was 18. And then a couple of years after I left, so we grew up pretty much in the suburbs. It was a 5,000 square foot house, 3 stories, 5 bedrooms, I
Yeah.
think 4 bathrooms or something like that. It was beautiful. It was pretty awesome.
Me knowing your family and seeing the way that y'all grew up, it's definitely different knowing what you've become to, like the ideologies that your family had and the way your father raised you and the way your mother followed suit. It's interesting to see the person you've become, Jonathan. To say the least. Like
Yeah, yeah.
you're explain to me a little bit how the mindset that you were raised with.
That's a good question.
Go into religions that you were raised with, all that shit.
Yeah, so we were very spiritual, I would say. Our spirituality was based on Christianity, so whenever we did go to church, was very, very rare. But when we did go to church, we went to Christian churches. If I'm not mistaken, I believe my mother's family was Catholic. But primarily of our stuff was Christian based. But you know, on a more intimate family level, stuff that we never really spoke about, it was really spiritual. A lot of spiritual lessons that we, had growing up. Well, at least to me, it's weird because I would talk to my siblings, and my siblings would say that we never had these conversations with our dad. And I
Yeah.
found that strange because, like, I would like, my dad and I went into like real deep conversations about some real spiritual shit. And, my siblings had no recollection of any of that. I'm like, am I the only one you fucking talk to about it?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was very interesting. Very interesting.
I want to discuss a little bit. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes over here. Don't mind me, podcast. Um, I want you to discuss the people you grew up around and how that shaped your mindset.
Yeah, so growing up until I was 10 years old, I grew up in Raleigh, North Carolina. And so, I went to a magnet school. So I pretty much grew up around a lot of white people, a lot of Caucasians. Our school was about 80% Caucasian. And, a lot of their families, a lot of them had a lot of money. So they were very, wealthy, successful people. I literally wore corduroys and button-up shirts to school. But then, once I moved to Durham, that although there's a lot of wealthy, successful people, but it's a primarily black city. Like that's, historically, that's where they sent all the black people in North Carolina was Durham, and Raleigh was where the whites were. That was a lot more hood, a lot more ghetto, but their parents had money.
Okay.
So just like my family, my parent, well, my dad's black. He was making multiple six figures. My mom was making six figures. But we lived in the suburbs, but we were close to the hood. And so, the people I was hanging around, were very, very, very smart. We were very educated. We were very smart. We all got good grades. We were all very good at sports, high performing athletes. Though we had a lot of ties to the streets, a lot of gang activity, a lot of, crimes going on, starting at a young age. I lost several friends from drive-by shootings, gang activity. Even one of the students in our school got shot and killed by a police, a school deputy, when I was in high school. So there was a lot of shit that went on, a lot of things that I got involved with that I really shouldn't have, but
Yeah.
that really did kind of mold me to where, like, I guess my mindset is today. It's like I'm a very smart, educated person. I can really succeed in the corporate world if I chose to, which also led to, the business world. But like, don't fuck with me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
if you fuck with me, I'll either pass you off to the streets or I'll hand you myself and no one will ever hear about you again type shit. So
Yeah.
it's like, it really hardened me, and, but it also taught me how to balance both a public, a public, uh,
Image.
a public, yeah, image, a public image, and also, don't fuck with me type shit. So
That switching more into jobs and careers, go into your journey and your workforce like story, where it started and jobs you've gone through in a short time, jobs you've gone through and the way you're at now.
so growing up, I always wanted to be an architect. I always wanted to be an architect, and I always wanted to have my own business. I always desired to be a millionaire, very successful, very wealthy. Because my grandfather was a multimillionaire, and so that kind of just trickled down through the family. But when I graduated high school, I went straight to the military because I didn't I didn't take school seriously enough to go to college to get a degree in
Okay. Yeah.
architecture. Um, so the option my parents gave me was school or the military. So I went to the military. Once I got out the military, about a year later, I had a couple civilian jobs. I went to Chick-fil-A, tried to get into management, but they were discriminating against me. So then I went to Lowe's Home Improvement. I did that for probably about 4 months, Chick-fil-A for about 6 months. And then after that, I was like, yo, like, this is like no money. Like, I made enough money to buy a car, but, I still couldn't rent my own apartment. I still, I was still living with my parents since I left the military. So I found out about the sales industry. So I got into the automotive sales, which instead of being a car salesman, I was a service advisor. I was 19 when I started working at the dealership. My first year, I made 50,000, and then by my fourth year, when I left, I was making about $80,000 a year. I bought a brand new sports car, had a brand new luxury apartment, everything like that. And then I end up getting introduced to some entrepreneurs that were building online businesses. And so I kind of got into that industry. I did that while I was still working at the dealership, and then I finally walked away from the dealership. I took my 401k out, and then I did it during tax season.
Yeah.
So I took my tax money, I took my 401k money, I started the business, and then I was introduced to a lot of millionaires, a lot of very successful people driving Lambos, Rolls Royces, living in
Yeah.
penthouses. I was traveling the country and everything like that. So I was doing that for a while, until, I was like, you know what? I can do this on my own. So then I left that industry, which was network marketing. I left that industry. And then from there, which was in 2021, is when I walked away from that industry. And then I went on to start building my own, which is here today. It's really an investment, company where, I studied the investment world. I studied the business world to where I know where to invest money to reciprocate the proper amount of, you know, uh, money that I'm desiring. So,
Mhm.
I have different ventures that I really go into.
I feel that. I want you to explain a little bit about the pros and cons of starting your own business and following through and successfully running a business.
That's a good one.
Mhm.
Uh,
Go into investments, go into having to put your own money in, go into meeting people, go into networking, go into it. Because I'm gonna film this whole podcast, and whatever leaks out the 30 minutes, I'll be making into a part two.
okay. Yeah. So the world of investing is a very lucrative place.
Okay.
Uh, because there's places where you can invest your money and you can really fuck up big time. There's a lot of, rabbit holes that you can get yourself into financially. And then also there's a lot of things where there's a lot of fast money, a lot of quick, reciprocations, or return on investments in the, investment language. um, and then, there's the slow ones. There's certain ones where it takes time, to really build it. And when you're investing, it takes a lot of research. Like a lot of people think like, oh, this is a good opportunity. I'm just gonna put my money into it. But like, you have to really do your research because there's a lot of scammers. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
bullshitters. There's a lot of people who have good intentions who like started the business that they're doing correctly, but they fail to fall through with the delivery of their services or their products. So and then there's different where you have gurus that teach you how to build businesses,
Mm-hmm.
and there's sometimes there's courses that you go through, there's mentorships that you go through, and so that is pretty much the same way. You can invest into a guru's courses, you can invest into a guru's mentorship, and they ghost the fuck out of you, and then you're lost for all the money that you invested. Like I've invested tens of thousands of dollars into these programs, into these courses, into these mentorships, some of them that fell through and some of them that didn't. And
Mm-hmm.
so, the world of investing, the world of becoming a business owner, is you take a lot of losses. Like you're going to lose a shit
Yeah.
ton of fucking money. Like you lose hundreds of thousands of dollars to make millions. You lose millions to make billions.
Yeah.
Like that's a real true fucking fact, man. Like, but that's what separates, the weak from the strong. Like people who are really determined and to become successful, they go through the shit. Like you lose money, you lose connections, your businesses crash, they fail, but
Yeah.
it's all about rebuilding. It's all about getting that money and putting it back into the right places, taking these calculated risks to ensure that you are reaching the goals that you're seeking.
Yeah, I tell people often to take heed to what you said about doing your research because you could have fully functioning scam artists with whole websites, whole corporations behind it, whole call centers. Like, I
Mhm.
tell people, do not invest. If your friend goes up to you and be like, hey, I know a Cash App scam, just give me $50, you have to really know that fucking friend because,
Mhm.
sometimes that shit works. You now have
Yeah,
1500 in the bank from a Cash App shit.
yeah, yeah.
But you also have those people where now you're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars because like, yeah, I just need $20 more, or I just need $30 more
Mhm.
for this, or $40 more for this. Next thing you know, you're $100 in, and you're not investing properly. Investing into stocks is a whole different thing that we don't have time to get into.
Yeah.
Um, let's go into paid partnerships real quick. Paying Instagram, paying Facebook. How do you run ads? Things of that nature.
So that's also very lucrative. There's, it's all about algorithms. Like social media in general is straight algorithm work. Like you really have to laser target. It's laser targeting your audience. So like once you identify what it is you're promoting, what it is you're talking about, like how is it you're going to hold your audience's attention, then that's when you kind of put those categories, put those niches, put those things into the advertisement. Because when you're running these ads, there's ways you can specifically laser target down to your audience. And so if you do it really broad, you're going to waste a shit ton of money spending on ads. But once you have that target, then it makes it a lot easier. And then it's all about how you're running it's all about how you're displaying your content. Because if your content shit, then so the social media platform, whichever it is that you're using, isn't gonna broadcast it to the right people. And the more money you spend, the more that they actually broadcast it to the right type of audience. So it's very intricate of how social media ads work. And again, it's all about the specifications, because you can put a shit ton of money in it, but your specifications aren't that great, and nor is your content. And so they're not going to broadcast it to nobody important. So you're going to waste a shit ton of money and keep paying them, and you're not going to get any money out of it. So therefore it becomes a scam. So it's all about how you do it, because it works,
it does work.
it
When you combine the views, like, shares, and combination of all that, it really does work. I get mad at I guess I would say friend group, but it's not a friend group. It's all like social medias, people on your friend groups on social medias and shit. I get pissed off because I'm like, yo, y'all will spend, like, the Chris Brown tickets. Y'all were spending $1,100 to go see Chris Brown from a distance, but can't share my goddamn post.
Right.
Like, come on now. Y'all will scroll for hours. How hard is it to actually promote? But I get not sharing all my retarded ass memes. I get that. Not liking every stupid thing I post.
Yeah.
But if I'm posting something lucrative to my business, how hard is it for you to like it? Like, it blows my mind sometimes, the amount of, I wouldn't say lack, I guess it is lack of caring that people put towards actual pivotal things when they could be making millions or making billions doing something of relevance. I applaud men, especially because women on social media, we have a break. If you're pretty or you can throw ass, like, you're making it on social media. Men have to actually work to have decent content. Like, y'all have to be spit some facts. So I applaud you for even holding down your shit the way you do, to be honest. Any advice to young Black business owners, especially? Male or female, I don't care. But I would prefer if you give male.
That's a good one, because I work in the online world. So, a lot of, when people think of Black businesses, they'll think of, cosmetics, they'll think of, fitness, etc. Businesses like that are more, investing,
Brick and mortar type shit.
Yeah. So, like, because in the online world, no one gives a fuck what race you are. It's about, like, can you fucking deliver your product? Can you deliver your service? Yes or no. If you can, you're gonna make it. You're gonna make a shit ton of fucking money. If you can't, no one's gonna give a fuck. You're gonna be broke.
Yeah.
So, I would. My best advice is just be who you are. Be confident. People invest money into people they know, like, and trust. If you can build your image as someone that's reliable, that's that's what's the word, like, not informational, but people, like an expert. Like, if you can really carry yourself to be a person that people can trust, people can know, and that they can like you, then they're gonna put money into you. So
100%.
Yeah,
I totally agree with that. Because I charge people to be on my podcast. Ain't nobody on here don't got money. You feel me? Anybody that comes to my shit has money to spend on their business or their image because they realize how important it is to invest. You feel me? I had someone that has been in the podcast industry for 10 years came up to me and was like, yo, you shouldn't be charging people. You're just starting. I said, you're a dumbass. Who the fuck is out here working for free?
Exactly.
You're 10 years in the game and you only have 5,000 followers, sir? Get out of my face.
Yeah.
In reality, like, you have to really invest. If you're not investing into yourself and deeming yourself worthy enough that people should pay you for your time, you shouldn't run a fucking business.
Exactly.
And that's facts, because businesses are hard. Between advertising, between marketing, between networking, between paying for shit, like, it's a hard, especially people that have full-time jobs on top of it. Like, it's a lot, yo. Not even including kids, which we're about to talk about. But we do have a paid. This is a paid interview today, so we are going to mention our sponsor. It's 420 Baby. She does do plates, trays. I do have some of her chamoins that she puts into drinks, foods. It comes with a little keychain of tahine attached to it. Like I said, I will include all her Instagram and anywhere you can purchase. It's 420 Baby. She has pre rolls. She does full nacho trays, full taco trays. I think she has ceviche running right now. Um, but yeah, anywhere in the Chicago area or Illinois in general, hit me up. I'll tag her below. We're gonna get into something a little more touchy, Jonathan. Let me relight the blunt because I'm definitely gonna need it. Hold on. We're gonna get into parenthood real quick. Now that I'm running this for longer than what I thought I was going to, I can get into a little bit more gang life. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, but let me see. Talk about not going into too much detail about your kids' whereabouts. Talk about how your parenting style is different from what you received.
That's a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I basically raised my kids the way I wanted to be raised. Uh, and though the way I was raised was very strict, very structured, very disciplined, I carried that to my children as well because, the way I turned out of how, I operate, I'm very strict on myself. I'm very disciplined
Yeah.
and, et cetera. So I did that with my kids. But the difference is I allowed my kids to practically run the show to a certain extent. You know, a lot of at least with the generation I grew up in, it's my way or the highway. Like, parents, like, I'm the mom, I'm your dad, you listen to me, blah 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 blah. It's not about what you want, it's about what blah blah blah.
Seen, not heard.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously growing up like that, I wanted to be heard a lot. That's the thing I wanted most. I wanted to be understood, I wanted to be taken accounted into. uh, my perspectives, my thoughts, my desires, instead of just only my needs. So I was sure that although my kids were young, when I was with them full time, I ensured that they did what they wanted. They were able to be happy by living a life that they, created for themselves. Although I would guide them to certain places, but I would see what they would make out of it. And I let them speak freely. I let them talk to me how they felt,
Mm-hmm.
and also simultaneously teaching them how to separate expressing yourself and being disrespectful.
Yes.
Like, you can cuss, you can say whatever the fuck you want, I don't give a shit, but don't cuss at me. Don't say fuck you, dad. Don't say you're a fucking bitch and all that shit. Don't
Yeah.
be talking to me like that, because that's disrespectful. But
Yeah.
you can sit there and cuss all the fuck you want, because who am I to be a hypocrite? For one, I cuss more than fucking anybody.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
so who am I to tell you not to cuss? But you do have to understand the boundaries of where you're at. Understand the crowd you're in, because certain places are still frowning against the way certain children talk,
Yeah.
and everything like that. So I just taught my kids just how to be themselves, but in a very strict, not strict, but a very structured, respectful manner.
Yeah, which is a lot of our generation, or at least the generation after us, is lacking. Because I think we're the Gen Z generation, if I'm not wrong.
I don't know. Is it Gen Z or
You
Gen
might be a
X?
millennial.
No, I looked it up. Millennials is the generation before me, so
So we're Gen Z then.
I think so.
So the end of our generation is 2009, if I'm right.
Holy shit.
Exactly. So you have a wide range of different disciplines within our generation alone. You feel me?
Hmm. Hmm.
So the way I was raised, getting my ass beat, my mouth smacked, and soap in my mouth, my little brother looks at me like, "Damn, that was daring me to child abuse." Like, he's like, "I wish someone would smack me."
Yeah.
So like, I'm over here like, "Damn," looking at how you saw me raise my kids and saw how our children interacted together. We really were bringing back the old ways of children, but still having them to have the creativity of this generation.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm gonna go into being a young father a young black father dealing with court systems, especially in North Carolina. Um, Keep heed to what your family is dealing with court systems and everything else.
Yeah, so that's very interesting because it all boils down to you. How do you carry yourself? Like, are you going to be that stereotypical deadbeat dad, whether you're black or not? Like, are
Yeah.
you going to be that deadbeat dad? Are you going to be that disrespectful motherfucker who's angry at the world and treats everyone like shit? You
Mm-hmm.
know, because the way the court system looks is like, if this is how you talk to us, how are you teaching? How are you treating your kids? You know what
Exactly.
I'm saying? So like, it's very important how you carry yourself. Initially when I initially won my custody battle against their mom and got custody of my son. I was one of the very few of fathers who won a custody case with their children.
Yeah.
So and that was because it's just how I carried myself, how I maintained my composure. I failed to allow whatever triggers or anything that their mom would do in court or any of the allegations, etc. I failed to allow that to affect me, and I was able to again hold my composure to show of my maturity of how I handle situations,
Yeah.
which in return in their eyes shows them how you can handle being a parent
Mm-hmm.
against, those things. And so, it's really just about, just how you carry yourself and how you treat, um, how you treat people, how you treat the mother. They take an accountability how you talk to the mother of your child or the father, whether you're a mom or I think you said father, but parent in general. But how you speak to the other parent, how you speak to the court, how you speak to the attorneys, and everything like that. So they're watching. So
Yeah, and that's in and out the courtroom. I
mhm,
often tell people, yo, when custody is a long, long battle sometimes. So
mhm.
you really have to take into consideration, hey, is this the best option, or can me and this parent figure out a solution between us? Sometimes custody in court's the only fucking option. You feel
Yeah,
me?
yeah.
I want you to go into raising raising boys. How do you raise a boy to have, I guess, proper masculinity, but also in touch with their emotions?
Well, I can say for one, I have a little bit of an advantage because I'm a Cancer. So
Yeah,
I'm
what's up?
very, I'm a very, very emotional creature.
Yeah.
But it's about just teaching what I know. Like I allowed them to express their emotions. I remember one specific time, when my older son, Jonathan Jr., him and I were up late at night and, I was trying to get him to go to sleep. He was just fussy. He wasn't trying to go to sleep. He was very upset. And then, at some point, I popped him on the buzz like, yo, it's time to go to bed. When it's time to go to bed, it's time to go to bed. And then what he did, he spazzed out. He started kicking me, punching me, pulling in my hair, scratching me, and like, beat the fuck out of me type shit. Like I had scratches on my face, my lip was bleeding. And I did that without disciplining him because I felt his emotion, I guess, a little bit of empathy. I felt the emotion because he wasn't able to verbally express what he was feeling at that time. But, after he did that, he stopped and looked at me and we just looked at each other eye to eye. And I'm like, holy fucking, I started crying. So I'm like, bro, like, I feel you. Like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
Like he expressed his emotions, he expressed what he felt through, you know, f- through, physically, but I was able to receive the message and like that, that really taught me a lesson. It's like, yo, like I have to listen to my kids because, when children need to be heard or want to be heard and they can't, they spaz the fuck out. And that's why a lot of kids have fucking problems, and I realized that if I fail to listen to them when they need to, then they're not going to be able to you know, uh, be able to articulate, certain feelings, thoughts when they get older. And
Mhm.
so that's also a big thing about being a man, is how you articulate, your thoughts,
Yeah.
because it's very easy to become an abusive uh, violent man and be looked at like that, and that's forever your image. So I
Mm.
had to, be sure that I taught them, how to, you know, control themselves, but also be able to express themselves, respectfully.
Yeah, and that's taken you years to learn as well. Like communication is really a thing that's lacking. We talk to people, we talk, but we don't talk really. You feel me? There's a lot of things that are swept underneath the rug, and me not having my kids and learning how to get my shit in order to get my proper visitation for my children, I look at children differently now. Like
Mhm.
before, I looked at it as, oh, I'm the parent. Like you gonna listen to me? We got shit to do. I don't care. Like now, I look at it as those are fucking human beings, yo.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter if you're young. It don't matter if you're a teenager. It don't matter if you're fucking old. We
Mm.
are all human beings. We should all be given the chance to express ourselves and be able to tell each other how we feel. Now, children have a harder time, expressing that, but there's always ways of communication. You
Right.
feel me? There's sign language. There's ways of communication. You feel me? I People are probably listening. It's like, damn, Shine, it's not always easy to be patient. I trust me, I'm the least patient motherfucker out there. The least, the least patient motherfucker out there, And I've changed a lot, learning in the fact that like I have to be patient. Like they are humans. People are
Mhm.
still evolving. Like
Mhm.
it's a whole discussion that our generation is starting to learn, and our generation before us damn sure ain't one to listen to.
At all.
You know, it's a topic of great discussion that we might have more time for in a minute.
Okay.
Um, I want to go over the pros and cons of co-parenting.
Cons are definitely when when you're in a co-parenting situation, when it's built off of trauma,
Mm-hmm.
that's where it's hard, because when, I can speak on, when I was in the toxic side, when I initially won custody, I didn't want their mom around at all because of the, of how she was when we broke up, and the reason why I gained custody. That image of her stuck in my head to where I didn't want around the kids because I didn't want that to rub off on them. I didn't want to continuously argue in front of our children. And, so my idea of it was, the as far away as I was able to keep her from the kids, the better. And that's very fucking toxic. Like, that's horrible, because children need their mom and dad.
They need both parents,
They
yes.
need both parents, and they also need to see their parents be cordial,
And
and
have,
so that was very
yeah,
important.
it really is. The development of children before the age of 5 is substantial.
Hmm.
Um, if you hear children yell or hear someone yelling, your child flinches, you gotta come to terms. Maybe y'all should stop fucking yelling.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of shit that people need to take consideration when it comes to co-parenting, and it takes a lot of maturity. Like,
Hmm.
especially with the father of my kids, it's taken years to get where we're at now, and there's a lot of years still to go
Hmm.
that me and him and his fiance are still good with. You feel me? Like
Hmm.
it takes time to learn those boundaries, but it's definitely worth it once the leveling is set. It's worth it. You feel
Yeah,
me?
definitely.
Um, I want to go into a little bit about homelessness with children because that's something we've both experienced due to different reasonings. But having your children in a shelter opens your eyes to a whole different experience. It makes you view people differently. It makes you view food differently, like travel differently. Go ahead and get into that a little bit for me.
Yeah. The fact that I was initially raising my kids in luxury apartments, it was very humbling, because, the stereotype of, rich or successful people that are snobby and etc. is sometimes it's true, but that's like when they have yet to experience a humbling moment. It's like, I never wanted to be around low lives. I never wanted to be around bums, etc. Because I felt like that's going to rub off on them, or rub off on me as well, but like once my kids and I became homeless, you know, I live my kids and I did live out of a shelter. We live out of a car, and we also lived outside. So we've experienced all those elements. And living in a shelter, shelters are gross, they're fucking nasty, they're
Yeah.
dirty as fuck, there's diseases, there's
They're
bed.
helpful. They're helpful. Not gonna hold you. I was grateful for the shelters, but they nasty as fuck.
Yeah, they're definitely helpful, but like you said, they're nasty, and like you got to keep that in consideration, like thankfully my kids and I had our own room,
Yeah.
we were in the family section, so ensuring that we kept ours clean was very imperative. But I, instead of being a Debbie Downer, like, oh my God, we're homeless, we're in a homeless shelter, like I was making sure that I was maintaining the proper mindset as if we were still living in a luxury apartment when we were in a shelter. Being around the other people who live in the shelter, it kind of made me realize like they're normal people too. Like there's some people who live in shelters who were rich, like people who are very successful, but they're in a down phase of their success, and they're not giving up. You know what I'm saying? Like people who give up, live on the streets, become a bum for the rest of their life. But people who like live in the shelter and utilize that shelter to move forward, those, there's a lot of people in there. And so it was very humbling, a lot of very, very good people, people like the fact that you don't have any money, you don't have really any food, but they would buy my kids things, they would buy me things, they would help supply for my family. And that just goes to show like there's good fucking people out there, like, and even when people have literally nothing to give, they'll find a way to give it to you. And that just goes to show like how, like the type of good that's out there. And so like showed my kids that you can love anybody because anybody can love you. There's no discrimination, but obviously you have to feel the person out. But
Yeah.
it's all about just it's all about remaining humble.
But there are a lot of good people. I will be tagging shelters in your area and also shelters in my area in our YouTube video. So people that do need help. I guess if you're watching YouTube, you might not need a shelter, but who knows? You know, shit. Try to be proactive. Let's get into our final topic for now, at least. A little bit of gang life. Now, me and you both have been surrounded and affiliated with gangs all of our life, but you have a different story than I do. So go ahead.
Yeah. So when I moved to Durham, again, that was when I was 10 years old. I don't remember the year, but that was when I was first introduced to gangs. You hear about it in elementary school, the DARE program or the gang program, stuff like that. They teach you about
Yeah.
it. But, when I moved to Durham, when I was surrounded by it, everybody was involved and et cetera. Like that kind of just taught me the real. It was kind of like, either you're going to be down, so you can be with these black, with the niggas, or you're going to be an outcast. You're going to be a fucking lame. You're going to get bullied. You're going to get picked on. And, so I was introduced to the Bloods initially when I was in fifth grade. That's when, I was first approached by the Bloods. And then, since then, you know, I was affiliated, hung around them. And then come middle school, that's when like a lot of more gang, shit started going on, started selling drugs, started doing gang activities, fighting and, that kind of stuff. And then in coming high schools, and I was actually brought home, which, for those who have no idea what that is, especially because that's blood terms, that's
Yeah.
being initiated, into the gang. So I was 14 when I was initiated, and that's when shit got real. That was bringing weapons, trading weapons, a lot more drug sales, a lot more missions they were going on. And that kind of built that foundation, and it also kind of helped. It also started fucking up my life, my parents, because they started seeing my flags. I never had drugs or weapons around the house, but I always had my flags, and that's what kind of caught their attention.
Mm.
And that kind of just fucked that up. But then later on, in my adulthood, that's when shit got real, like real, really real for me, because I didn't have my parents holding me back at that time. And
Mm.
so, I got into a lot of bad things. I started getting arrested for, doing runs, certain type of missions.
Yeah.
I started witnessing a lot of things that people never believed were real,
Yeah.
or people they see on T or shit people see on TV. you know, so I've seen a lot of things, I've done a lot of things that have scarred me, and then also have just, you know, set the standard. I was like, yo, like this is fucking reality. Like, you know, you can't get rid of this shit, you know, at all. Like,
No, gangs have been around. Gangs, mafias, everything in between have been around since forever.
mhm.
Um, I every time I talk to you, Jonathan, so many stories go through my head of so many times I've gotten calls from you on some stupid shit. Oh God, yo, the stories I wish I could tell, but we can't. I love the fact how open you are about the realities of it. I have a lot of people that come on from different walks of life, you feel me, who have different affiliations, know different people, from GDs to Latin Kings to Bloods. Y'all all have a sense of family that is very deep. And people that aren't either in it or have old ladies and old mans that are in that shit, they don't understand the depth of the loyalty that comes with
Mhm.
gang life.
Mhm.
Um, you have those people that do involve their house, home, and family and kids, which they shouldn't. And you have real people that, handle business and they come home like normal people. But it
Mhm.
is always a part of y'all. Like, it's not ever going to change. Whether you carry your flag or not, you still going to be a part of it regardless.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's so unfortunate the stereotypes that come with gang members, though. Like, not all y'all are sitting on a corner somewhere trying to haggle or sell their crackhead. Like, that's so unfortunate. Like, everybody's been through their shit, best believe. But, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
the reality of it is gang members can hold down jobs. They can still be great representatives for their neighborhood and their communities without having stuff of that nature. Like, you're a whole business owner. You feel me? It don't matter that you are what you are, you know?
Yeah.
I want to close this out real quick by saying thank you for being on here. Tell everybody where they can find your information again.
Yeah, so my primary social media is Instagram, and that is the Infinite Jonathan, spelled JOHNHHON. So the Infinite Jonathan is my Instagram. My business email is going to be info@infinitedynasty.com, and then my website is infinitedynasty.com, where you can also find my contact information as well.
Perfect. Again, I'll be tagging all this shit. I do appreciate you being on Let's Be Blunt. Of course, my Linktree is where you can find all my social medias and every place that I stream Let's Be Blunt. This is an international and 18 up podcast, so please be warned of that. I'm gonna shout out to my sponsor one more time. It's 420 baby. I have some of her keychains right here for all your drink necessities. Okay. She also has trays as well that you can order, and she does catering. So please go check her out. I'll be tagging her in all her glory as well. Till next time, Jonathan, I guess.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, of course. Let me pause this.